good day and welcome to a new video. Heyo, this is Daniel and you're watching our new live stream with MMWoodcock here. And she's
Hello.
she's an amazing artist here, and as you can see I've got her gallery up here, so you can go to her gallery at mmwoodcock.deviantart.com and yeah, tell me a bit about yourself.
I live in the United States. I'm primarily a digital artist, but I do some traditional mediums as well. And I have a bachelor's degree in illustration.
Awesome. How's the bachelor's degree in illustration like? How many years is it? And what did you find useful about it?
It's a 4-year degree, or program, I should say. I actually started out in graphic design and decided to switch over to illustration, which is a good thing in a way. I kind of wish I would have stuck with graphic design just to learn more about the web basics and things like that, but it's gave me the opportunity to try different mediums and push myself further in digital illustration. So,
Awesome. Yeah.
what about you? What do you have?
So I have a bachelor's in computer graphic design. I didn't really take any web-based stuff in there, but yeah, I've got a lot of background in like logos and design, posters and all sorts of things. But I was really just focused on creating images and drawing illustration stuff. So yeah, so I had 2 courses. I had 2 years at graphic design school in Palmerston North, and also in Wanganui, New Zealand. And the first 2 years we learnt drawing, traditional drawing with pencils, and then on to different mediums like colour pencil. I think we did crayon, but we didn't really go into painting that much. I did do painting a bit, but I did that in my own time. We did do it at my school. But yeah, I really picked up pencil drawing after that. And then in my last year of the bachelor's, or last 2 years really, I picked up digital illustration. I did try it back in before that, when I didn't know it was digital painting at the time. It was just creating an image in Photoshop. I didn't have any tablets or anything. It was just done with a mouse. It was of a mini. We were just digitally painting things as well. I don't really call it that at the time because I didn't really fully know what it was or how to go about doing that kind of thing. So yeah, now I'm doing...
Do you have a preference?
In medium?
Yeah, is it something, do you prefer digital over traditional medium, or do you feel that both have, obviously they have advantages and disadvantages, but what do you prefer to do?
Well, it comes down to time. I really love colour pencil. It's something I will never let go, because I always find myself every couple of months doing another colour pencil drawing. But I'm mostly doing digital painting just because to me it takes less time to edit it better. As you may be able to see in this painting, I'm taking a traditional drawing, so I start off with traditional drawing obviously, but I can edit it much faster, much quicker than colour pencil. With colour pencil I really have to have a defined, perfect pencil drawing to perfect. I can get it before I can go in with color.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do prefer digital illustration. Um, but yeah, there's nothing compared to traditional mediums for me as well. So yeah, I do more digital illustration than I do traditional. Um, it used to be the other way around. I didn't really do many digital things. But yeah, it could chop
Well,
and
as far
change.
as your digital illustration, um, do you have more opportunities as far as commissions and things like that with digital, or do you find that people want to commission more traditional mediums?
Um, well, nah, not exactly. I suppose there's this thing in the world that, you know, your digital illustration is taking over in a way. Um, but I still think there's room for people wanting traditional pieces. Um, it's like some art shows and things. They only accept, traditional pieces, paintings on canvases or color drawings framed that are the originals. They only accept that. So there's that kind of market to think about, but for the time consuming for me, because a traditional piece takes me about a month, um, where so I can't produce enough pieces to make a show, or um, I could put a piece in a
Right.
show, but yeah. Um, so I mean, the digital side gives me opportunity to do something quickly for someone, like if they wanted, say, a logo or just a quick rough painting, or they want a full-blown painting. It might take a couple of weeks for me to do. Um, so I did get a commission last year where they wanted a book cover. It was quite interesting because all the previous artists she had were pretty much traditional, um, and I just decided to do it digital because I think at that stage it felt quicker to me, um, and it came back and forth between a few changes and things.
Right.
Um, so
I
what it?
just, for me,
Yeah, keep
sorry,
going.
go ahead.
No, keep going.
Well, for me, it's different. I'm primarily a digital artist, and I can do traditional mediums, but where I live, it's funny, but a lot of people here don't really perceive digital art as real art. And I have a hard time getting commissions for digital work because, depending on the generation and what they're raised with, they don't really see digital art as something that is unique in and of itself. And that's always been a frustrating struggle for me because I'm not in the urban areas of, Los Angeles, New York, that sort of have harnessed the depth of digital art. And so I just find it intriguing that you have found opportunities that's digital and, you don't have customers telling you that it's not real art or, preferring traditional mediums.
Hmm. Yeah, that is the thing. It's interesting. Like, I think it's comes down to sometimes people don't fully understand it, um, because it is a new thing. It's come out in the last 20 years, 10, 15 years ish. It's still young. Where traditional mediums have been around for donkey years, to the start of time. Um, everyone knows what a paintbrush
Mm-hmm.
is. Not everyone knows what Photoshop is yet,
Yeah.
but yeah, everyone knows what a pencil is and what a paintbrush is. So they kind of understand what it is they're looking at. When digital painting, there's a lot to do with it that they don't fully understand yet. So yeah, it's a challenge, definitely. But I was wondering, when do you start color in your pieces?
I kind of just go. I guess there's three different things that I do. One is I could start out with a traditional piece and flat color it and then begin rendering it. The second thing that I do is to sketch in Photoshop and then begin painting. And then the third way that I do things sometimes is I just start throwing color and blobs of shapes and begin defining without a sketch. Um, I think personally, for me, having some sort of sketch first instead of just laying down color really helps because you're sort of laying the foundation down, which will help in the long run, especially if you like to use layers and things like that. It can help. But usually I'll flat color it and then I'll just immediately begin rendering the painting.
Yeah. Flat color can help. For me, as much. Sometimes I do lay out a flat color. With this piece, it's kind of a flat color, but it's left room for a lot of changes to it. Because the sketch is quite rough. Because for this piece in particular, I did like 10-15 drawings or something of variations of what it could look like, a cross between a macaw and an elephant, whether it be more elephant-like and less bird-like, or more bird-like and less elephant-like. So I had a bit of play around with that, and then I finally got to this decision right here, and yeah, I just kind of paint things in as I go. And it's different for traditional, like I was saying, where I have to have a finished piece, finished drawing. So it's like one of my tutors was saying, you can't make a bad drawing, you can't just colour a bad drawing and make it look good. Which is something that takes a bit of time. Where this process is a bit different, I can take a kind of rough drawing and flesh it out a bit more and keep pushing and pulling everything I want to do.
It kind of, to me, it makes me think of underpainting. You know, if to say you were a traditional artist and you used acrylic or watercolor, whatever, the painting method that you use, to me, it makes me think of you doing more of an underpainting. Kind of just put some color in and starts defining some edges, but you're not necessarily set on the actual tones and the saturation of the color that you want in the piece yet.
Yes, yeah, definitely more of an underpainting. Yeah, and there's something different, because I don't have a lot of knowledge in digital painting or color pencil. I come from more of a graphic design background, so picking up a lot of this stuff as I go, which is an interesting thing.
What tools in Photoshop do you find that you use the most? Like, obviously you'll be using the paintbrush, but are there specific brushes that you like to use? Are there certain layer modes that you prefer to use, or do you just sort of stick with the basic tools and make it work?
I started out, because I didn't know much, so I started out with just using basic tools, basic brushes, whatever quickly available to me, because I come from a traditional background, so it's like pick up a pencil, draw with a tool, this tool, draw with coloured pencils. So you got your standard tools there, But as I grow as a artist, I do pick up new tools. So there's a few tools I use to help me along the way. I usually do use just a standard, as you can see I'm using here just a standard brush, 14. It's quite low. It's not hard, it's soft, a soft brush. So yeah, I start off with a soft brush, and then once I get further into the painting, I do start using, if I want to make a rough edge, I use a hard edge. But yeah, I just use paints, but lasso tool to fix up if I want to change the direction or how things interact with each other. I might lasso tool something and move it a little bit. So that I use a standard tools. With layer modes, I do use a couple, like overlay and multiply sometimes. It depends on what I'm trying to do, because sometimes to quickly kind of maybe if I'm trying to trial out some tonal studies, I will put a layer on top and overlay with just black and white, doing some tonals. Sometimes I keep it that way as adding something to the painting. Sometimes it's just to start off onto creating the tones with the colors. So yeah, I do use quite a few tools here and there. But yeah, I just use my standard tools. There's nothing epic about it. But with textures as well, though, I do use a few brushes for textures now and again. But even with that, I don't overpower the textures. I just add a little tiny bit, like a cherry on top of a cake kind of thing to it. Yeah.
How long have you been using Photoshop?
So Photoshop, I've been using it for a while. Like you know, for digital painting I've only been using it for about 2 years, but I've been using it for more than 5 years, probably 6 or 7, but not to this level. So I used it back in the day when we had like CS2, I think it is. You know, I was just playing around, editing things, you know, using the lasso tool and the magic tool to delete and do things, you know. One of my first projects I ever did was creating a cover for a CD cover, and I had traditional drawings, so I was editing those traditional drawings and placing them together. It was my greatest work as well, you know, it's one of my first pieces in design I did, so yeah, it was quite a while. How about you? How long have you used digital media?
I began using Photoshop probably about 12 or 13 years ago. I was actually pretty lucky as a teenager. I think I was about 13 when I had my first Photoshop program. It was a gift that a friend gave me. I think it was Photoshop 7.
Yeah.
And I had just heard about the, I think it was the Graphire tablet that Wacom had come out with, and it was tiny, and it was horrible. But
yeah.
I was able to get one, I think, for $80, and I kind of just began. But it's funny because I have home videos and pictures of me when I was 5 and 6 years old using MS Paint or Microsoft Word Paint to make drawings, and it's something that I have always done. I just, you know, didn't realize until I was much older that there was the potential to really use it and create full paintings. And it's good because I have a lot of practice, but at the same time, for so many years, I avoided trying out traditional mediums because I just didn't have interest in it. I thought it was time consuming. I didn't like having to kind of changed the mindset on mixing pigment versus light and having to deal with drying times versus just using layers. And it wasn't actually until college that I began exploring other mediums such as acrylic and oil and watercolor and things like that. And up until about 2 years ago, I did nothing but digital medium. And I just decided to drop it, and I started doing traditional medium, watercolor and ink, and just loved it because it was so different and I wasn't so used to the same structure, and it allowed me to explore different like techniques and try different drawings, and just I didn't feel like I was stuck in a box. And since then I've been able to take the knowledge that I learned from the traditional medium and bring it back to digital. And I think that's really helped me feel not so confined, and then it's okay to experiment, I guess is what I learned from it.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. I feel the same. Like, I always try a new medium here and there. Like, about a year ago, I took a watercolor class that I felt was interesting, which helped me in the end to kind of understand a bit more. Yeah, and I brought that back into my other mediums as well. So I do think that playing around with different mediums is important. I don't think you need to stick to it. Like, if you're going to do watercolor for once, just to trial out, you don't have to do it all the time. I would love to do another watercolor, I think. It's something that's a bit tedious because I don't like having to wait for the color to dry. I kind of like, if I want to continue
Right.
it, I have to continue it then. I don't want to wait 20 minutes for the water to dry and then come back to it. So when I was doing that, I was kind of doing other things, I suppose, while I was doing the watercolor. Waiting for wait, I was like, do this watercolor for half an hour, 20 minutes or something, put it down, wait for it to dry, and do this digital painting or something like that, and then continue it in the afternoon or the night time or something like that.
So are there like any artists or art styles that have influenced you? Anything you grew up with that you really like?
Yeah, so obviously there's like Bobby Teo and Terry Whitlatch, because this course here is a Terry Whitlatch course on schoolism. So there's those kinds of inspiration, and someone that I did grow up with was like Gary Baseman, watching his show on TV, watching all those like cartoons and things. What really got me started in this industry was watching the cartoons like Family Guy and 2D, some other 2D animations like even Pokemon and Digimon. That really got me interested in more the animation field, but it inspired me to move on to traditional mediums, like watching all these artists do things. Some of them have videos on their paintings and their life and things like that. That really inspires me as well. But any artist that has something cute and quite appealing to me, I just usually I fall all over that artist for a while, and sometimes I pin it to a wall, or yeah. How about you? Do you have any
Mm-hmm.
artists that inspire you, or anything that makes you want to pursue art further?
Well, I grew up on Disney. My mom was pretty much a single parent uh, when I was very young, and she kind of used Disney as a way to entertain me and keep me occupied. And so I love Disney so much. In fact, I recently bought a TV after not having one for 2 years, so I could just watch my Disney VHSs. But I grew up with Disney, Pokemon, and things like that. But the thing that really got me into art was I went to a summer camp and met a girl who was reading manga, and it was D and Angel was the manga, and of course I thought reading backwards was bizarre. And upon discovering that, I suddenly wanted to move to Japan, and your typical weeb on wanting to pursue the manga career and things like that. It wasn't until I joined DeviantArt that I actually found an artist named Diane Ozdemar, and
Awesome.
unfortunately, she has not posted there since 2012, I
Yeah.
think, or earlier. But she was an amazing digital painter, um, and she really inspired me to push the boundaries and to essentially paint and not draw, to get rid of the line art and to really try to render with values and texture. And I have since found her on Facebook. She's still mildly active, but I think she pursued photography over digital illustration. But since then, I mean, that's what I want to do is digital illustration by far.
Awesome. Yeah. So I have an audience question. So what brush medium do you use on your digital paintings, and how long would you say a piece takes?
I use primarily custom brushes. I mean, unfortunately, with me, I never really started out with the regular Photoshop brushes. I was always playing around with the settings, and so I have about 4 to 6 that are my primary brushes, and funnily enough, they're actually brushes that I have exported and imported over 10 years. My pieces, it depends on what it is. A speed paint could take 1 to 4 hours. A portrait or a bust could take 12 to 15. I think the most I've ever spent on a digital piece was about 30 hours.
Yeah. What in those 3 hours would that be? Say a couple days, or would that be a week or so?
Um, I think if this is something that you want to pursue professionally, it really depends on your workflow and your timeline, but you have to consider your health as well as a full workday. I used to binge 12 to 15 hours in one sitting, and it was really hard on me physically, and I would get exhausted and want to quit. And so now, I try to break it into increments, maybe 4 hours at a time, if the project allows me. If not, sometimes you just have to do what you have to do. But you never want to risk your health trying to, work on a piece. So I would say, you break that down. That could be 4 days to a week, comfortably.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm still trying to make my workflow. Um, so at the moment, I'm trying different charts. I had a chart where I scheduled what I'm doing each day. That didn't work as well, um, but it helped me in a way. And now I'm just recording where I'm spending my time, and it's helping me. I'm seeing improvement a bit, that I'm doing more hours than last week, and yeah, I'm still trying to work it out. But I try to as I've got a few things going um, at one given time. I'm always a person that has more than one project going, um, because
Hmm.
I dislike having just one project, because it started kind of at design school. I would finish a project within 2 or 3 weeks where everyone else is still working on it, I'd send it back to you, ask for a new one, and then I'll be like miles ahead of everyone else. I'd get given different projects. I even once got a project that I wasn't supposed to get till next year. I've always got things on the go. I tried having a traditional piece in the morning and a digital piece during the afternoon/night, which is something I did do at course as well, which it works quite nicely, but it's just that you've got to wait. You've got to wait till you finish both those pieces till you get anything finished, really. Yeah. Do you work on one piece or
So as far as
multiple
your
pieces? Yes.
so go ahead.
Do you work on one piece at a time or multiple pieces at a time?
I probably work on multiple, but probably at different stages.
Yeah.
I'll probably render something halfway through before I would pick up on something else. What I was going to ask is, you do a lot of work with animals and like nature. Was that something that you have always liked, or did you find that you liked that sort of content later on, or have you ever done portrait work, or what? Is it something that you've just naturally always liked?
It's ever since I was a kid I've loved animals. It's been one of my things. Well, I started out when I was a kid wanting to be a vet. I really loved animals. I wanted to care for them. But I'm not exactly happy with, being inside an animal or anything like that. So yeah, I've always loved animals. It's something I really love. I have done portraits of people and things like if someone passes away, like we've had Lincoln, the band member from Linkin Park, passed away, and people in the past that I really enjoy listening to, I will contribute my own portrait for them. So I don't mind doing that stuff, but I really love animals. But other times I just have to bite the bullet and do this other stuff that I don't exactly like, but it improves my art. We have a question here. Hi everyone, long time fan, first time caller. I'd like to ask, what do each of you find are most troublesome to render, and do you have any tricks to overcome those difficulties? So yeah, thanks for joining us. So do I have anything troublesome to render? Yes, I would say, people are a challenge for me, because I don't exactly paint them a lot, but it's something I do overcome. And a trick to overcome those difficulties, so there's things you can do. So there's schoolism courses you can do that will help you move these tricks, but if you have something in particular, like me, I couldn't draw humans to save my life, really. I still struggle with drawing humans and poses and things like that. So to overcome this, you have to dig deep and really understand how to do it. Like, for drawing humans, it's how to, like, what kind of body structures, learning all the muscles and the anatomy, and just learning as much as you can to overcome those difficulties. What about you? Do you want me to ask that question to you again?
I think I heard it the first time. For me, I mean anything that's mechanical, I suppose. I'm not one to draw buildings and vehicles and things like that. I've always drawn people and animals for a very long time. I think the typical answer would be to use reference, when you're having to render something you've never really worked with, but it will definitely always be more challenging because you don't know the foundation of it, you don't know the basics. So to have to jump on it last minute to just do it for a project would be nerve-wracking, to say the least. But it can be done. You just have to have more patience with yourself and find references and take the time to do it well, and it'll usually work out.
Yeah, I started off hating lines because I was, freehand artist, and I did take classes in more of that kind of mechanical drawing type thing. So I think, there's something there that you dislike about it, and it's about, overcoming those dislikes. I hated drawing lines and mechanical things. Obviously because of all the working out and the math and the getting the ruler out and going from A to B, all those things where freehand's much more open to draw whatever, kind of just doodle along and try and get it right. It's when did you first get serious about art?
I think I decided I wanted to pursue that. Like I said, I was influenced, I think, when I was about 13 at summer camp, when I had discovered manga and things. But I made the decision to go to art school probably my sophomore or junior year in high school. And in high school, I took 6 out of 8 available art classes that I could take. I did everything from 3D and ceramics to paper art to paper mache to traditional. Of course, there was no digital because schools didn't have computers and things like that for art class. And I think just along the way, I've just been freelancing and doing commissions here and there. I haven't. Right now, I work as a graphic designer in a distribution company, so I do a lot of basic signage and advertisement. But on the side is where I tend to be more illustrative and creative in rendering portraits or tattoo designs and things like that.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, we're getting to the end of our stream, and it's been an awesome talk so far.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm gonna have the last question. We'll try and quick fire it. So, do you have any advice for any starting artists or graphic designers?
I would say to use references when you can, and to find artists that you look up to and that inspire you, and to follow them and support them, as save their artwork, to look at when you're kind of in a rut. Be patient with yourself, because it takes anyone, a professional or not, years to perfect something and to be proud of it. And everyone's going to have insecurities. Even the masters of this day have insecurities. So don't let it hold you back. And if you are passionate about it, you'll find your way.
Yep. Just keep drawing. So I say. Yeah, and you had a question for me earlier, so I'll probably answer that. So your question was, if I can find it, basically what I think it was, why I started these videos, and how I went about my journey of this. So yeah, these videos I make because I want to share my knowledge as a growing artist. I'm not employed professionally, but I see myself as a professional, but I'm still at the level of becoming a junior graphic or artist. So yeah, getting more perspectives as well. So I like to get more perspectives from people around the world who may be established artists or more growing artists. So I just like to get more opinions and things. So yeah, that's me. Thanks for joining me on this episode. And thanks for everyone
Yeah,
for
thank
watching.
you for having me.
Yeah, like, share, subscribe. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks.